Okay, the beta gang testing out the stop motion animation. Okay, so this one we're going to be talking about ink and paint, and actually, this is actually quite an interesting thing because um, that is the way that we've been designing this is to work to Blender's strengths, and we're also thinking about how can animation be sped up. Uh, and so a couple of, I mean, if you're coming from the purest sense, you're probably going to hate this method and turn the machine off now and go back to pencil and paper. Um, so yeah, there's a couple of different ways we can do this. And so it might take a few different videos. So basically what we have here is we have two different objects. Okay, we have the line art objects. So if we just play that through, you can see that. And then we have our fill object. Okay, and we can see this object here. Now, if we actually take a look at the information, we can see they're operating in two totally different spaces. If we look at the line art one, so illustration pen object, okay, that's this object here at the moment, we can see that the pen is actually operating in 3D space. And the reason why we're working this way at the moment is because of the way Blender's curve objects work. In some ways, there's actually quite a few bugs with the curve objects at the moment, and I think that's one of the reasons why they're actually being rewritten. Um, the other thing is that the curve objects also offer, kind of at the same time, a lot of flexibility as well. So we have 3D strokes, which is really cool. But how do we do our fills? So if we look at our fill line art, we can see we've switched from 3D to a 2D object. And the reason why we want to have that done is because basically we can change our fill option. And so we're changing our fill option to both. And that's telling Blender, hey man, don't treat this like a 3D stroke. Fill it in, because if we fill in a 3D stroke, you're going to get some really funky behavior, and we don't think that you as a user can handle that. Here's the interesting thing though, right? If we actually extrude our 2D object, it's actually giving us two-dimensional data, but it's giving us a three-dimensional depth, which is kind of a little bit wild. And when it comes to hybrid rigging and animation, this kind of capability is freaking really, really cool. And we can actually mess with it with geometry nodes as well, but not just yet, not in this one. So let's just turn that off. So our line art is always, at the moment, in the current builds of Blender, it's probably going to be this way for a while. Our line art is going to be in 3D, and our fill art is going to be in 2D. Okay, so now that that's explained, let's just come down here and take a look at what's happening. We can see our object is not actually keyframed at all. All we're using for this one is object data. And if we were to keyframe these, basically all we would have to do is just select both of them. And then what we could do is we could just grab it down here, and then we could come to our final frame, and then we could push it up just a little bit, right? Oh, sorry. Push it up just a little bit. Come down here, push this one down. And now we're getting object tweening, and we're getting the frames changing at the same time. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make this one kind of from scratch. So we've all been using this demo file that I've already provided with you guys. So let's just start again and just walk everybody through it. So we're just going to turn Chalkman off because we're not up to him yet. And we're going to just push this back to the center. So we're just going to Shift S and cursor tool origin. Shift S, selection to cursor. Okay, and basically all we're going to do is we're going to find our animation add-on, turn it on, turn our side panel off, and we're just going to clear a key, add a key, and we're going to draw our love hearts. And at the moment, oops, I'm not too worried about where my love hearts live. I'm just going to come back through, and then I'm going to yeah, I'm just going to come back through and then redo them. Okay, so we've got this guy, and then this guy, and again, and really wild shapes. Okay, so we've got our love hearts. Let's just check they're all working, because Blender does have a stroke issue. So, yeah. Mind you, the stroke issue with curves is actually with Blender. It's not actually with our add-on. So we may end up writing a script just to kind of help try and tackle that. Basically what happens, Blender just twists curves randomly, willy-nilly, and it's kind of really hard to control. So basically, okay, we have our line art, right? So now what we want to do is we want to create our fill art. So what do? We just come in and we just create a circle. That's it. And what did we have to do? We had to switch it to 2D. And if we take a look, here's our circle. And now we're going to switch it to both. And it fills in our circle. So this is going to be our paint. And then we're just going to go into edit mode. And we're going to shrink this guy down. Okay, so this is where it kind of gets a little bit interesting. It's kind of like a little bit between ink and paint, a little bit like rotoscoping, where you can get some frames free. Yeah, so anyway, let's have a look and see how we go. Now here's the gotcha, right? Because we're in 2D, Blender is creating this this object on the X and the Y axes. So in order for us to get a nice read on this object, what we have to do is we have to not delete it. We have to rotate this object 90 degrees on the X. So the hotkeys for that are basically R for rotate, X for the axis you want to rotate on, and then you just type in the number. So I just typed in 90 and then you press enter, and then the object flips 90 degrees. So now we have this. Let's go into front mode. So this is our pie menu editor. So front mode. Now we want to give our material a color. And so basically the way that you do that is through Blender's 3D shaders. And so what you can do is you can create a new shader here or a new shader here. So let's create one, and we can see one's been created. So I'm just going to call this heart fill. Okay, so there's my heart fill. And what I'm going to do is, instead of using a 3D shader, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the input information as RGB. And this is going to give me just basically a raw color. The really cool advantage of this is that in Blender's new up and coming compositor, viewport compositor, you're going to be able to take these objects and then you're going to be able to composite them in real time. And the cool thing is like, because this isn't actually reading any shader information or data like translucency or PBR shader or volume shader or anything like that, it's just reading raw color data. So even actually in cycles, when you're reading the information or just even getting an image and plugging it straight into Surface like this, it's not reading any lighting information or anything like that. So Cycles pretty much renders in real time with every frame, and that's not even using the GPU. that's using the CPU. So if you're doing 2D animation for a kids TV show this way, you know, all your animation is going to be in real time, which is really, really cool. Okay, so basically we want to put a fill on this. So I'm going to go GY and push it back. So my line art is now in front. And then all I want to do is I just want to reshape, basically reshape this this object. So I'm just spacebar for my tools, and then I'm going to hit V. I'm just going to go into free mode, and then basically I'm going to, you know, just kind of shape this out really quickly. Okay, so you might think, oh man, you know, I really don't want to shape it out this quickly. But when you compare this to actually like fills in traditional line art for animation, the process can be equally just as time consuming as this. So yeah, it's actually not that bad. So I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to add a keyframe on each one of these. That love heart's a bit wild. Okay, and I think that's it. Yep. Okay, so let's just go through, and the way this works, just control space is going to bounce you in and out of full screen, right? So I'm just going to select all of this and scale it down by hitting S. And yeah, you can see, like, you know, you can work quite, you know, at a quite a granular level. Yeah, this guy. I think there's a point here somewhere. There it is. Okay, so that's that one done. Next. And then the thing is like, if you're actually using the animal add-on with this as well, this is going to get, you know, you're going to be able to tween all of these points as well, which can be pretty amazing actually, because you're getting tweens for free and you're getting object switching for free, and then so when you combine object switching if you combine object animation with object switching and vertex tweening, you can get really smooth, complex animation happening really quickly inside of Blender. Okay, so that's this guy, and last one. Okay, so the advantage, while I'm doing this, I'm going to try and talk about the advantage of doing this way as well. Basically, you could start off with your with your fill object and your line art. And the thing is like, if you need your characters to stay on model, you can use your fill line art to help you stay on model with your line art. And that's just not to say, like, some TV shows, they don't even have line art. So you could actually just be animating your fill, and then just, you know, if you need a little line art under a chin or help to define a jawline or the bottom of a nose, then you can just drop that in really quickly, you know, and just by hand animating, and you're just going to tear through that information really quickly. Even that said, you could just draw one frame in, and then you could actually vertex tween it over, you know, possibly, you know, 120 frames. And then when you need that drawing to disappear, then you can just use the stop motion key, just, you know, this clear frame to make it disappear. So if we just bounce back and we look at it, we can see here, like, oh, I've missed one more frame. So let's just go in and do that. Push this guy around. Why am I using my mouse? I have no idea. Okay, cool. So we've got in Sydney here in Australia, Pride Week is coming up, Gay Mardi Gras. So this heart's for them. Okay. All right. So there you go. So that's basically ink and paint. That's one way that you could approach it. So just really quickly, basically there's nothing stopping you from taking your line art and parenting it to your fill art. So now basically we don't need to keyframe both objects. We can just keyframe the one object. So you'd want to start with that way. So if we want to add a little extra motion and love to this now, let's just undo our parent. So we've got this action here. So select both of our objects, turn on our order key. I'm just going to drag it down a bit. And then I'm just going to put these keys on 2s. Oh, it's not going to work for me, not today. Okay, let's just take a look, see what's going on. Okay, so let's just remove our object keys. So they're all the yellow ones, right? And so the way that I'm working that way is basically I'm reading object transformations because that's what I'm dealing with. And we know that they're the yellow keys. And then I'm just deleting my object transformation. So yellow keys, object transformation, delete. Let's see if I can space these out. I'll put them on 3s, not 6s. Hey, okay. There we go. Okay, and set. All right, cool. So that's set. We could probably tweak that a little bit more. And so, okay, so we've got this object. We're going to drag it down a little bit. And then here, we're going to drag it up a lot. So now we get all this extra movement and the animation is, and the object data is changing out at the same time. I mean, just even that by itself is kind of, to me, that's worth the money already. That's pretty cool and that's pretty fast. So you could work with both objects at exactly the same time. It just depends on how you want to work. There isn't a bunch of different ways you can do this, but it depends on which direction do you want to go. Do you want to lean towards more the traditional animation, or do you want to lean towards more the cutout animation, or do you want to lean towards more hybrid kind of animation? And so there's just so much opportunity to explore and even work more efficiently or even more creatively. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this one here and play it out. There we go. There you go. Stop motion animation, baby. Love. Okay. See you in the next one, guys.